Okay, in this version, we are going to show you how to create shadows. So first of all, I have an example of a bowl with a ball inside the bowl sitting on a table. First thing I did was I merged everything into one layer. So the bowl and the ball are all together into one layer because I knew I wasn't going to add anything else or move anything to it. Then I took the magic wand and two different ways. What I need to do is I need to select this outside edge. So I can either click on the area and hold shift with my keyboard to add to the selection until I get all the areas selected that I wanted. And now you can see how I have that outline around the end. Or a way I found to make it easier, especially if you have a lot of different colors or values, is to click on the outside area. Notice how it selects everything around the bowl. Okay, that works if you only have just the bowl on the layer. Now that I have the outside selected, I can go up to select and inverse, and now I have just the bowl. The next step is to create a new layer. So I'm just going to click my layer button over here, and I'm going to call this one bowl shadow just so I know what's on the layer. Once I have that, I can click on my black color, use my paint bucket. I'm going to fill this whole area in with black. Now you may be like, oh, I just covered up my bowl. That's why we made a new layer, because the bowl is still there on a separate layer. Then I'm going to take that shadow layer and I'm going to go up to Edit, Transform, and Distort. What's nice about that is I can grab any one of these boxes and just distort it the way I'd like. So I'm just going to grab this middle one and distort the whole thing over. So right now I'm going to do it where I keep it on the table. Once I get that transform, I can hit this little check mark and it'll set my transform. Then I need to take that bowl shadow layer and I'm going to drag it underneath. So my bowl is on top of my shadow. Now the shadow is a little too dark, so I can go ahead and go over to my layers area on the right-hand side here. And where it says opacity, I can change the opacity of that layer to lighten it up. And I'm just going to go up to select and deselect. And now I have the shadow on my table. Now what happens if the shadow extends beyond it? So I'm just going to go to edit and transform a little bit more. So I'm going to take that shadow, and what happens if my shadow extends beyond the table? If the table is not against the wall, we're just going to erase this part of it. To do that, I'm just going to take my box tool, select the area I want to get rid of, and just push delete on my keyboard. So now you see the shadow just stops at the edge of the table. I'm going to undo that, because now what happens if the table is up against the wall, the shadow should look like it creeps up the wall. So I'm going to go up to Edit, Transform, and Distort. And I can take that shadow now and distort it back to look something like that. And now the shadow looks like it's creeping up the wall. A second way to create shadows is I'm going to select my layer that my tabletop is on. And what I'm actually going to do is use a burn tool just to burn my shadow in. So over in your toolbar, there's a tool that looks like a little magnifying glass that's filled in. That's called a dodge tool. That'll lighten up areas. We're going to use the burn tool. So notice how it gives me a little circle. If I click up here, it won't let me burn anything because that area is blank. I need to make sure that I'm on the layer, so this table layer. Now if I just click my mouse and drag, you'll see how that area darkens up. So you can kind of hand put in your shadows as well. The more I click it, the darker it'll get. Another cool thing about this is if I go to my bowl layer, notice how my bowl is pretty flat looking right now. I can go ahead and click and drag and burn my bowl to give it more of a 3D effect. So you can do that to create your shadowing and your gradations as well. So now I've made that area of the bowl darker. The dodge tool found in that same button will work the same, but it'll lighten up areas. So if I want this area of the bowl to look lighter, I can just dodge that area. Now it looks like the light source is really coming from this area and that side's really shadowed. So that's the dodge and burn tool and how to create shadows in Photoshop. Quickly, I'm going to show you what it looks like in Pixlr. So I'm not going to go through all the same steps, but If you go over to the side here, you still have your magic wand to select your shapes. If you hold shift, you can add to it to get your whole different area. Or you can click the outside area. I'm going to deselect it. I can select this outside area and then go to select and inverse select to do the same thing that we did before. The burn and dodge tool is found in this button right here. So I'm just going to click on that one. You'll notice up on the top you have lighten or darken. So I'm going to click darken. So this dodge or burn tool will work the same just like it did in Photoshop. I can increase my size by clicking that button. So I can click and drag and notice how it's burning and dodging that area of the bowl. If I click lighten, it will lighten up that area of the bowl. So dodge and burn tool will work the same in Pixlr as well. And then you can use those same other techniques to create the shadows like we did in Photoshop.